Welcome everyone to Comics Week in Review. My name is Stephen McGauley, editor-in-chief of TMStash.com, and with me, as always, are all my writers from TMStash. We have Mr. DC, Ed Garrett. How you doing tonight?
Doing great. How about you?
Doing good. And of course, Joe Gagel, Mr. Marvel.
Hey, what's up?
And Nick Duran, who is just a master of everything. Of all trades. Sporting the awesome St. Louis Cardinals Star Wars shirt that I was sporting the other night, but you couldn't see it as well because of my camera angle. But it's awesome. All right, lots of news always in the comic book world, and our favorite is in the news, or one of our favorites, I should say, is in the spotlight again this week, with Gail Simone finally being attached to Secret Six. Something, may I point out, that we predicted was happening, what, 3 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago?
Something like that.
You heard it here first.
It's great for her to be back on this series. It was a favorite for a lot of Gail Simone fans, including me, before. This dysfunctional group of villains have really made a great series before, should again. We only know two of the people who will be in the Secret Six right now, though. All we know is Catman, who will get a redesign for the New 52, and Black Alice. Dale Eaglesham, who helped to do the last redesign of Catman, is doing all the character designs and the covers. Ken Lashley is doing the interior artwork, and of course Gail's writing the stories. All we know right now are the two characters and the fact that we'll start with them all trapped in a room together and very unhappy about being there. The rest, we're going to have to wait until December to see the book, and hopefully we'll hear a few tidbits before then. But this is big news. If she was going to leave Batgirl, this is the one book that she would really, make all of her fans happy to be taking on, and I'm certainly looking forward to it.
Well, that's large part why it was a pretty easy prediction to figure that she was going to the Secret Six, because she had announced she was leaving Batgirl, and that was her baby for so long. So it's gonna be interesting. I'm probably gonna pick that up, being the newbie to the comic book world that I am. I might jump on the Secret Six bandwagon.
The last run of it actually made Bane somewhat human and actually sort of fun to read, which I never thought you'd see Bane be. Included characters like Ragdoll, who's one of the creepiest characters I've ever seen in comics anywhere, and if anything, in his brief appearances in the New 52 is even creepier. So it's well worth checking out. It'll be a different kind of book, but it'll be a lot of fun.
Joe, what does the Marvel side think of Gail Simone doing Secret Six?
I think it's a good move for her. Like you said, it was her baby for such a long time, so it only makes sense for her to return to something she enjoyed so much.
Oh, how about this for something scandalous, Joe? If you could get Gail Simone to write one Marvel series, on what series would it be?
I would almost choose Deadpool. She had written on that in the past and did such a really good job with it. It wouldn't bother me if she did a run with Deadpool, to be honest.
You want another run with Deadpool? You want something new? You don't want her like doing Guardians?
That wouldn't bother me either. I think she's talented enough that she could handle many of the books that we have, so I'd be welcome to it.
I'd want to see her do Kitty Pryde. I think she would do Kitty Pryde well.
Oh yeah,
That would be.
The thing that's amazing about her writing is that she can take characters that have been lightly regarded even by previous iterations of their character and turn them into fan favorites. It's Catman had been basically a joke in the DC world before she took him on. So it's amazing what she can do with little known and little used characters, and not that Kitty Pryde would actually fit that exactly, but she would be a really good fit for Simone.
What I think would be really interesting, this is off the wall, but and a good way to segue, but seriously, if I could pick Gail Simone to write something with AMC piloting The Walking Dead for this new series of everything that's not happening pretty much outside of the comic book world, with basically the whole what's happening in the universe with this zombie apocalypse. If I know Kirkman's going to write the series, I don't know if there's any comic book. We don't know if there's any comic book related information going in it. Thinking not. Talking pre-show, I think it's kind of going to follow what the video games are doing and just be a completely separate world. But if Gail Simone can pick that up and write like a Walking Dead like series or that spin-off of what else is happening in the universe, I think that would be awesome. I know Kirkman's done awesome off-the-wall stuff, but I think she would do like an awesome like Walking Dead spin-off. But that's just me. But what do we think of AMC ordering this pilot? What was that, Ed?
I said I pretty much read anything she wrote, though. She's done enough of different things. When you get into Red Sonja or Tomb Raider, which she's already done a video game-based book, she can do about anything.
Pretty much.
I was hoping it was going to be Gen 13, but...
I would have been happy with Birds of Prey, too. So, yeah, I don't know what you mean. Well, you know that last issue of Batgirl, she threw in Caitlin Fairchild, along with Miss Foot and a few others. So, yeah, she threw the book at us at the end of her run on Batgirl.
But I think she'd do a good Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And I think this new series is going to be interesting. I think it's needed, and I think it's the perfect time to for them to jump on this franchise.
Oh
yeah, I think it's good timing. It's good, but at the same time, I'm kind of annoyed at how slow the TV show is compared to the comic books, which move at a frenetic pace, and yet the TV show moves at a snail's crawl.
It's because they're already catching up to his 100 and some issues.
Well, you know, there's only so fast a zombie can move.
Right. But at the same time, I don't even know. I mean, it's been so long since I've read them, but like, I honestly don't even know if they're past book 100.
They're like, right at the cannibals, I would say.
Yeah. So they're right around 100. I mean, they took an entire series off of like 2 pages at the farm. Was basically 2 pages in the comic book.
Well, they made up some of it too, right? Did they ever go? I don't think they ever went to the Center of Disease Control.
No.
In the comic book.
No, that never happened.
That never happened. I think this new series will give them the chance to create some original content that they don't have to follow a comic book or worry about catching up too fast. It'll give them a chance to write outside the box and make some stories that maybe they've had on their mind making.
I think that's
I agree. I think that's exactly what Kirkman's doing. I think but to play devil's advocate at the same time, I mean, he could also take this separate world and he could go out on a tangent and he could go and create. He could talk about the Hilltop. He could talk about Negan, and he could expand I mean, all of what he's done so far in the TV shows is expand the comic books. So if he goes and takes the Hilltop people and Negan and his people, he could, just off of that alone, he could have a whole TV show.
I personally would be very disappointed if he did anything about Negan, because I want there to be that moment where they're on the road and there he is, and it's like, oh, there's Negan. Uh-oh, it's happened. They're finally there.
Yeah, I think everybody's ready for that. I still don't think it's going to happen this season, but
no. Well, they have this new character that's like a hybrid character.
Who is that? I'm not even familiar.
The guy who locked him in the. I don't know his character's name. It's been so long since it's been on the air. The guy who locked him into the trailer at the end. He's the new bad that they thought was going to be like the cannibals, but right now we don't know where that's going. There's been some
Yeah,
stuff
but
that
it's
said they
probably
might
going
be
to the cannibals. So, but the comic books are in an interesting spot too. I mean, they've got the outsiders that came into the new comic books just in the last 3 issues, 3, 4, 5 issues.
Yeah, and then that bombshell they dropped on us in the last issue.
Which I don't know
And
if I've even read yet.
So
And
I won't spoil it.
Yeah, 131 is actually coming out on
What
Wednesday.
issue am I on? Am I on 130? No, this can't be right.
If you're on 130, you're close. 131's coming out Wednesday, so
Yeah.
you gotta catch up.
Yeah, so I've read 130, so you're not dropping any bombshells on me.
All right, how about you guys?
No, but go ahead.
So the talking zombies, they can communicate now, apparently, is what we were left with.
Allegedly.
We don't know what they heard. They were in a ditch. They heard some stuff.
Yeah, it's the very last page of the book.
That happens a lot in comics, doesn't it?
Literally. They were speaking. So, I don't know, but they could easily run off and tie those people in. Those could be the other people, but I think Kirkman's looking for a fresh slate and to make more money off of AMC because he can.
I think it's a great idea, and I think it's going to keep us from going, well, what about this, and why isn't he doing this, and why isn't he doing this? Instead,
Right.
we can just say, oh, damn, that was awesome.
Right. Right. And in the movie world, we have The Rock as Black Adam in Shazam. When everyone thought that The Rock was going to be Shazam. What do we think of this move?
He'll make a great Black Adam. We talked pre-show. Back in his wrestling days, he did turn heel for a while. And he could play a bad guy just as well as he could play the good guy. And his personality is so outsized. I think he's I think he'd be a great Black Adam. I think he'd probably be too constrained as Shazam. He'll have more fun with this role.
Yeah, he was you're talking about the corporate champ.
There you go. Oh my God, you really do know this stuff. All right.
Oh man, I thought I was the Rock in high school.
I
I never really could get this down though.
think everybody did, yeah.
Back when the people's elbow was known as the corporate elbow.
Well, you needed him to go against Stone Cold for a while, so that was awesome.
Yeah.
Back in the glory days. But I think it's good. He's done so many cool characters in different movies. I mean, some of them in movies much worse than others, for sure. He's been all over the place, but he has turned out to be a pretty stellar actor, and he is no longer just a typecast.
He's an action star. He's good.
Yeah, he is
can
a
play
full-blown action star. He's proven to pretty much do anything from family to just off-the-wall action movies.
Oh yeah, the game plan was great.
Yeah. So I think he can do anything. I think it'll be. I'm interested to see what they do as DC kind of seems like they're branching out a little bit away from their traditional movie series with, Supermans and Batmans, and finally going to get, something a little different from the DC universe. So do you think this is a good direction for DC to go? The way since Marvel's like pretty much destroying them in the box office. I mean, I know we're on a good path with the Superman versus Batman, but I mean.
It depends on what kind of movie they make. If they make a good movie, then absolutely it's the right direction to go. If they keep making, they can make a good Batman movie. They haven't proved they can make a good other superhero movie.
I mean, this could be another Green Lantern movie.
Oh, please, don't do that. No. But if they can do it right, then yeah, the more the merrier. I'd love to see all sorts of DC characters come out. They could have a lot of fun, and there's no reason to let Marvel have all the fun, but they got to prove they can make the movie.
Do you have any idea who they're going to cast for Shazam?
No. I mean, I think everyone was speculating the way that The Rock was kind of tweeting was that it was going to be The Rock. But
Who
now
fights
that it's
The Rock?
not The Rock and it turns out he's Black Adam, I don't
You
think
really-
anyone's really...
Well,
Stone Cold.
Stone Cold.
You're going to cast two people anyway, because you got to cast young Billy Batson, then you got to cast the big guy, and they'll probably need to cast an unknown for that. Someone with a fresh face that could come across as this young adult superhero. Hopefully, someone who can act.
Hopefully.
For the adult or for the kid? I think acting for the kid's going to be way more crucial.
Oh yes, I agree. I just don't want the guy playing the grown-up Shazam though to be real stilted, and that's the only fear I've got, because you're still a kid inside an adult's body. So hopefully they'll have some fun with that.
You can get Elijah Wood. He can play both because he looks like he's 12 still.
I don't know if he has the physique to pull off Shazam.
They'd have to get him a bodysuit for sure.
Yeah, Shazam is sort of showing up right now in Future's End. In a way that would be a little spoilerific to reveal, but we find out where Shazam has been. We also find out where Superman has been, but neither answer is going to be what you expect. And Future's End had been, I had sort of given up on the series for a little while. I know, Nick, you had really stayed true to it. I've been pulled back in. It's doing real well.
I don't know how you can put down and pick up books like that. I'm on a series. And I wrote it out, and it was interesting. Like, I was writing it out going, when are they ever going to give us more Batman, Terry from Batman and Beyond? When are we going to see more of him? And that didn't happen, but it got cool in the process of me waiting. So,
Yeah,
and I'm a bigger fan of Azzarello, I think, than you are.
Yeah, and not that I don't like him, but I think you're right. I think you like his writing better than I do. And nothing to put him down. It's just I've got other favorite writers. The weekly series, though, all the way around from DC are really good. You got Batman Eternal, where Alfred finally tells his daughter the secret to getting into the Batcave, which fulfills one of the images we had in the teaser back a few months ago, where they were teasing the Batman Eternal, and you were wondering who that mysterious person was in the Batcave, and a lot of folks were speculating it was Julia Pennyworth, and certainly it is. But we're finding out a lot more about the people behind all the bad stuff going on in Batman Eternal. So that's pretty cool. I mean, we've got this new guy, the Architect, but we've got a returning villain who is really messing things up, and it's interesting to see him back at the New 52.
Well, the Architect is from Snyder's Gates of Gotham.
Ah,
But I do not think but that was in the old universe, so I don't know how they're going to tie that in. But he was a Snyder, Kyle Higgins and Scott Snyder created The Architect in Gates of Gotham. It's a good book. Pick it up.
Nice.
Yep.
It's a good pick.
they had a lot of Futures End tie-ins this past week. Some of them are really good. The action one had a character that looked a lot like the old Sand Superman from the 70s. He wasn't made of sand, but he looked like him. But granting people powers temporarily and then trying to talk Superman himself into coming out of retirement. The Detective was really good, where Batman and the Riddler were teaming up together to break into Arkham Island. Really neat twist at the end of that story. Buccellato is a great writer. And the one that still drives me crazy is Grayson. It's not that it's a bad series. It's that you're trying to turn Dick Grayson into a super spy instead of Robin or Nightwing. But we go back to his origin, and you find out what his New 52 Robin uniform looked like and why he wore bright colors. With the Deathless line, you have to earn the night, which is still one of the worst lines I've seen in a comic book in the last several years. Not, not that the whole comic is that bad. It's not. The comic's not that bad. But that line, oh my gosh, that was a bad line. But that's just me. But that was a very busy week over at DC. Lots of stuff going on, especially with the features and tie-ins, and that's even going on next week with more of them coming out. We've got Batgirl's coming out, Birds of Prey, where Black Canary's taking over the League of Assassins. You got Constantine taking on Fate's Helmet. And several others that are coming out there. You get Batman Eternal telling Catwoman's backstory in the New 52. And it's going to be a really good week for DC this coming week.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What's going on with Marvel, Joe?
Well, kind of like Ed with Ed, there were very, very a lot of really good issues this week. Too many to talk about. So the big ones were, of course, Original Sin #8, closing out the main story. A lot of good stuff happened in this issue. I'm going to keep it spoiler-free for Nick, but I will say that we find out the fate of Nick Fury Sr., which has a really neat twist, as well as the villain Orb, and the new place for Winter Soldier as the series ends, kind of. So it's a really good finish to it. It's going to leave the Marvel world a little more secretive because a lot of secrets are out in the open, and some people aren't going to trust each other. And one thing they've done really well is this issue leaves you with an image of Thor on the moon, still trying to pick his hammer up. And they've done this really well, I say, because the story with him and Thor and Loki take place around issue #5. So, and that hasn't finished out yet, so we still don't know why he can't pick his hammer up anymore. And that's, I think, going to be the last issue for tie-in for Original Sin. I'm not sure if that comes out this week or next week, but it should be pretty soon. And that's going to let me segue right into another Original Sin title that was really good this week, The Uncanny X-Men. It's the second issue of the last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier. And I remember, Stephen, we talked about Guardians of the Galaxy last week, how we felt like we didn't get a lot of information that we should have. And this issue is like the exact opposite of that. It had a lot of really good information, a lot of good story-driven stuff. And basically we find out that Charles Xavier has found a mutant that was more powerful than anything he could ever kind of imagine. Kind of a Jean Grey scenario, but even worse. And he made a decision to, like the psychic barrier thing, and cut their power off. And and even though it went against everything he believed in, it was for the good of mankind, mutant kind, and the future of them working together and living together in the future and coexisting. So that sent a lot of mixed reactions throughout the X-Men group. And as the book ended, he said, "You have to go check on this kid before I'll tell you anything else that has to do with the will." And what they don't know is this kid is reawakened and he's out of control. So that is going to be really good moving forward, I think. And finally, we've got from Charles Soule. How is it, Ed? Soule? Charles Soule?
I think it's, yeah.
Brings us The Death of Wolverine #1, which was a really fantastic opening for this cover to cover. It's got a really nice bound cover with some chromium on it. We've got Steve McNiven, Jay Leaston, and Justin Ponzer on the artwork, and it's a very good-looking book, very Wolverine-looking. And basically the story kind of seems that he's kind of on a beach, like an island, and there are bodies everywhere. There's a contract out for him. It looks like, it's about time for him to die, pretty much, like they're saying. So he's had to fight a lot of people. In this book, he has to fight some people, and he gets to find out that Viper is the one that has the bounty out for him. So it was really good. Good intro to it. Looking forward to how it goes. The rest of the issue had some really neat director's cut material in it with writer notes for the artists, some sketches, and a really good interview with Lynn Wine, who is one of the co-creators of Wolverine, and that was a really good interview on his take of how Wolverine has gone and where he's come from. And it was, like I said, great content, and it was even cheaper than last week's Wolverine book, which made it even better.
That's always a bonus.
But well, it's not often I can give you Marvel news, but there's a couple of things. One is that Charles Soule has signed an exclusive with Marvel, so once he's finished Red Lanterns and his current arc of Swamp Thing and Superman and Wonder Woman, he's going to go exclusive to Marvel, which is great for Marvel. It's real sad for DC. The other is there's a teaser image out on Thor's hammer and the inscription on the side of it, which says, if he be worthy. Now it's starting to read, if she be worthy. So the inscription is changing on here. It's just one more sign of what's coming up.
And I've got one little tidbit. There's this week's Captain America issue was really good. It continued the march into Axis, but at the very end, it kind of had the beginning of what everyone's probably been looking forward to. Falcon takes a bomb into the atmosphere, and to save the city. And it goes off, and we don't see what happens. So this is probably the beginning of him getting the super soldier serum so that he can survive and maybe become the next Captain America. So that was a really good looking transition point. So big stuff happening in Marvel this week, too.
Sounds good.
That is huge. Ed, what's going on with the indies?
This past week, a couple of favorites for me. The Death-Defying Dr. Mirage by Jen Van Meter came out from Valiant. This is a great series. She's able to communicate with the dead. It seems she can communicate with anyone who's passed on except for her own deceased husband, and she's being pulled into a very strange mission that she's not sure exactly what's going on, but there is a tie-in that may let her finally talk to her dead husband. It looks great. It's drawn well, written real well. Sidekick by J. Michael Straczynski is really getting darker by the issue. This is a story about a sidekick who was originally named Flyboy, who saw his mentor supposedly assassinated, and then his life falls apart, and then after a few years he finds out that not only is his life complete crap right now, but that his mentor never really died, that this was all a scam, and he snaps. And he's going down a darker path by the issue. It's really good. And then Turok, Dinosaur Hunter #7 came out last week by Greg Pak, where Turok was forced to train some more monsters to help out one tribe who was going to kill everybody that he cared about if he didn't help them out. It's a great series. It's beautiful artwork on it. And those are sort of my three favorites from the indies last week. Coming up this week, IDW's got Rotten Ruin #1. Image has several coming out besides Walking Dead. You've got Copperhead #1. Lazarus, Greg Rucka's great series, has issue #11 coming out. Invincible, another Kirkman book, comes out with issue #114. Josh Williamson's Ghosted comes out with issue #13. Over at Valiant, you got Archer and Armstrong 24 and Armor Hunters Harbinger #3. The whole Armor Hunters event has been just amazing, which centers around Exo Man of War and some people who've come to Earth to take his armor away and then, to their estimation, decontaminate the world, but what it means is kill everybody on it. Boom has Black Market #3 coming out, Suicide Risk, Thomas Alsop, and a debut of a series called Wild's End. Dark Horse has Captain Action Cat, its final issue, which is a strange. It's got Dark Horse, Dynamite, and All Yeah Comics all combining on this one series, and it's actually been a lot of fun. Dynamite has Magnus, Robot Hunter coming out, a series that combines two characters, Dawn and Vampirella, coming out. Titan has the second issue of the 11th Doctor coming out. I don't know if you guys saw the 12th Doctor's series last night. That's really great. And Titan will have a 12th Doctor series later this year. but the 11th Doctor issue number 2 is out. And Action Lab has, Stephen, one of your favorites here, Zombie Tramp number 2 is coming out this week. Janie is in Las Vegas with the undead King Elvis. It ought to be wild.
It's so ridiculous. It's so good.
Those are the best.
Oh yeah. It's if you look up over the top in the dictionary, you'll see a cover for Zombie Trap, and it is quite awesome.
So good. I'm excited for that. Well, all right. Well, that pretty much wraps it up for this week in comics review. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Nick, Ed, Joe, much appreciated. For more news on comics, you can always find us at TMStash.com. For more news specifically on DC, you can check out DC Corner, which Ed usually records sometime in the afternoon on Sundays and has it up before we do this show. So if you want more in-depth detail on DC, check that out there. And you can always find us at findingthestash@gmail.com. Ed's there at contactedreviews@gmail.com. And, of course, on Twitter, we are TMStash on Twitter. So please find us on all the media outlets and check out TMStash.com for all the news. Thanks so much, and keep reading the stash. Good night.